It's been dubbed the UAE Spotify rival, and it's on the crest of a wave, with music streaming platform Anghami becoming the first Arab tech company to list on the US Nasdaq Stock Market. And then adding to that, an exclusive deal with the most streamed Arab singer in the world, Amr Diab. So I'm excited today to be joined by Eddy Maroun, co-founder and CEO of Anghami, to dive into the company's success. So Eddy, we've read the headlines on Arabian business, of course, and we'll return to those in a moment. But first, every superhero has an origin story. So give us Anghamis. What was the problem you were trying to solve a decade ago when you launched?
Well, we wanted, as we always say, we wanted to have a proper music experience through our region, something that's relevant, that responds to really to our needs, to our culture, the way we consume music, and that is also legal, that remunerates the content or the music owners. And we came up with the idea, me and Delhi, out of a need. Also, we identified an opportunity. We identified a trend growing globally, and we totally believe that the region will embrace such thing, because we know that there was a lack in the market, and I guess our timing was really also adequate, because we weren't ahead of the curve, but we were exactly not late as well. And here we are today, and
that sounds like bang on time.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, we're always grateful to where we are today because of all the people that supported this story and believed in it, predominantly starting from users, artists, stakeholders, and everyone who really believed that. That means a lot.
I'm interested. I'm actually going to segue for a second, because you said something there that gelled with me. When I was growing up, there was a physical music retailers, HMV. They used to sell. They were massive in the UK, and the boss of that was always like, streaming, it will never catch on. And it was a bit like the Nokia smartphones will never catch on conversation. What was it? What were the ingredients you saw that you thought, you don't know what, streaming is actually going to really take off in this part of the world?
Yeah, that's very true. By the way, even at the music industry level, the music streaming, when it started basically in Europe and in the US. It was experimental at the beginning. So the music industry wasn't sure that whatever music streaming revenue generation would be enough, to compensate the loss of selling CDs, albums, vinyls, and especially iTunes, because when the streaming trend grew, iTunes was the major revenue generator to the music industry. Buying those tracks at $0.99 dollars. So that was the main revenue. So it was really experimental. What we kind of benefited here in the region is that there was nothing really that is being monetized digitally in the music industry, except the ringback tones or ringtones at the time, which was completely something way smaller. And this gave us some sort of advantage with the way we built things, the way we structured things. And labels also wanted to support us. Some of them didn't take us seriously because many other projects failed, even coming from big players like telcos or well-funded entities. But again, I mean, we got the support either because they saw that we're doing it probably with the right ingredients. We were somehow also very focused, and we built around us the right team to execute properly. And we did not cannibalize any of their revenues. So they were somehow flexible in the terms they gave us, because we considered, and they considered also, that we together gonna build this market. And this paved the way, for other players to come in, because we proved that there's potential in the region. There's really, depth, and this helped growing the music ecosystem, the music industry at the Middle East level, and brought in other players as other streaming services to the region. So I think that this helped the whole ecosystem and industry grow, and everyone is benefiting, and everyone the pie is bigger now, and everyone is having a bigger piece of the pie.
That's an interesting business equation there, because I come across businesses all the time, obviously reporting on them, where everybody's trying to protect a small piece of a small pie, rather than trying to actually almost band together and grow a market, and then have perhaps a smaller percentage in terms of a number, but of a much bigger market. So you've obviously got a much different philosophy to that.
Yeah, absolutely. We look always at competition as a driver to a bigger economy. We also believe that it was a challenge for us when we started to educate the market, about streaming, about paying for music, which never existed, subscribing for something that you used to get for free. So when we had other players in the market, we saw that we had like organic growth, and this helped, educating the market, growing the market,
Mhm.
and let the better win, in terms of bigger market share. And this is where dedication to this particular audience, this particular genre, market, etc. And we know really the market. We're still holding the largest market share according to research, with more than 58% as market share in the paid music segment.
So take me back to the beginning again. How did you and Ali Habib, your co-founder and CTO, get together and form your plans? Was it a Wozniak jobs? You did this all in a garage? How did you guys meet, and how did you come across this?
Yeah, first of all, me and Ali go back 2 years, maybe to the year 2000 or 1999. Ali had developed a platform that delivers ringtones, and I was the one who was doing the music for those ringtones. And ringtones was big thing at the time.
Yeah, I remember.
And at some point, with time, we were also skiing in the mountains of Lebanon, and realized that downloading music on the iPod and syncing, and sometimes it's not charged, or you forget to bring in your music, was a complex way, and not really a convenient way to consume it. Instead, let's have all of our music on our phone wherever we go. And we started to work each on his front. Ellie started to work on the technical aspect of things, and I started to work on the business and labels and licensing. And that's how it started. But we were very kind of confident. I don't want to use the word confident. Maybe we saw that this is gonna be big. Really, we were fully, I'd say, driven by the beauty of the experience, that it's really gonna work. And we realized that there's gonna be a need, because at the time also, and given our previous experience with telcos, we used to work with telcos selling telecom solutions. We saw that telcos are in need for innovative, solutions and services to offer their users. And that was one of the things that could be really interesting enough, because there's a lot of synergy and complementarity with what we do and the telcos offering, into doing some sort of telco packaging and bundles and all of that. And this proved to be right, and we are where we are today.
So it's 2022. There's a massive focus on startups, particularly here in the UAE. You've been reasonably successful as a startup, shall we say. So for the dreamers out there, what were the mistakes you made in the early days? What taught you the most when you were trying to get traction?
I think that sometimes analyzing a lot gets you, to maybe not take decisions, or not really take bold decisions you'd want to take.
Yeah.
Second, I believe that we've been also very focused on building our core. Now maybe we got the scale and the resources to grow into other avenues around music streaming, so that we can go into becoming more of an entertainment platform. I believe that we could have started this maybe a few years back. There are always mistakes. There are always things that do not work. But overall, I think that we've been fortunate enough to to have this kind of journey, despite the challenges, despite sometimes going into circumstances that are beyond you. For example,
Mhm.
COVID, that
Yeah.
wasn't something we planned for and weren't ready for it. But thank God we turned this into an opportunity, and we created new service for this. So these are the things that we look. But definitely, if I look back, I would probably pursue the same journey. But there are things that would have gone into it in a bit bolder way, because the growth will always happen when you make bold moves.
Do you know, I interview so many entrepreneurs, and the ones who are successful, the thing they say the most is, I wish I started sooner. I wish I'd been braver sooner.
No, I think, yeah, being always brave, you never regret being brave. That's
Yeah.
what I say by bold moves,
Yeah.
when you think a lot about things, when you start analyzing a lot, then you start looking at the downside of
Yeah.
things, then you start not pushing yourself to make it happen. But in terms of timing, as I mentioned, I believe that our timing was really good. And I don't think we planned this, it happened organically. Because if we started maybe earlier, as I mentioned, we probably would have been really ahead of the curve, right? Maybe not enough smartphones, not enough networks that would support streaming, and technology wise, probably wouldn't have been able to build a product that works.
Yeah.
Whereas if we came later, maybe someone else would have done it.
When you did that initial pitch deck for investors, were the words "the first Arab tech company to list on the US Nasdaq Stock Market" in the pitch deck? What was the dream back then, and how does it compare to what you've actually achieved?
Well, I think we still have copies. Eli still has copies from our first pitches. Clearly, we never imagined or thought that we can be listed on Nasdaq. And even when we started discussing this, I mean, we weren't very kind of sure that this can be achieved, because we haven't seen any of the sort in our region. But again, I mean, we definitely felt or realized that we're onto something big, and we realized that there's depth and there's this big, opportunity, and that's what was really driving us. And we were always optimistic about it, despite, as I mentioned, all the challenges. And always remember that when we started in the year 2011, even, we launched in 2012, but we started planning in the year 2011. Fundraising wasn't like very common, right? The word
Yeah.
VC that we always it was very new, right? So raising $500,000 was something, especially that we didn't even have a product at the time.
Yeah.
So yes, if I look back at my pitch and add this slide, it would be like maybe something crazy, or those guys are not sound. However, I mean, ironically, uh, March 3rd, 2012 was the date we signed the first shareholder agreement.
Yeah.
And March 3rd, 2022 was the date we rang the bell on Nasdaq. So I think there's a correlation, 10 years exactly. So maybe this is a sign, I don't know.
You made an interesting point there about you were raising money 10 years ago, and obviously that was a incredibly nascent conversation. What do you think the climate's like for startups these days? Is it? I mean, obviously it's different. Is it easier in some ways and harder in others? Where are
Look,
we at?
fundraising is always difficult and time consuming and exhausting, and it can sometimes, let you feel down in many cases, because you feel that you have a transaction. Sometimes it collapses at the last minute. So it's a very hard, thing, but it's part of the game. It's part of your job. Uh, Now I believe that it's not easier, but at least the ecosystem became more mature. You
Yeah.
have success stories, you have good exits, you have investors who made good multiples out of their investments. So this is, the whole market became more mature. There's more awareness, and investing in tech startups is no longer something out of this world. It's no longer something somehow
A leap in the
crazy.
dark. Yeah.
Yeah. Now things became, and I think that this is part of what had happened in the whole region. And but I still believe, raising is difficult, and the first raise is always critical. But as mentioned, every phase has its own challenges. And when you raise the first 500,000 or million, then you're gonna go and raise 10 million, and then you have to go to raise 100 million. And each of these stages has its own challenges. But I believe that we're in a better place as an ecosystem in general.
How do you keep going, with that process? Because, hearing no is never good for our psyche, shall we say, our ego. It must be pretty tough on the mental health to keep knocking on doors and people not responding. So how do you keep going through that? I mean, and I'm sure there is a whole number of founders or would-be founders who will watch this video who are going through that right now. So what kept you going in those early days?
After all, you always, if you're confident and you believe in what you're pitching in your story, you will definitely find someone or ears who will listen to your story, and who will, kind of jump on board. Now, you don't want to be discouraged by every pitch that comes with a no. Definitely not, and you can't expect every pitch to be coming with a check sign. As I mentioned, this is part of the game. This is part of the being in a startup. But I believe, as I mentioned, that if you have a good story, if you have a proper business model, because in many cases the business model is what lacks. If you have really a growth path, a decent addressable market, something that is really, you'll definitely find the right partner who will invest in your story.
Now, I'm interested because you're a UE, you're a regional success story. What does that mean to you to be a brand that's grown here to be an international success rather than a brand that's been imported to the region? How and how important has the ADGM been in that journey for you? How important is it to be a kind of local success that's grown?
Definitely, it's very important. I believe that now we have much bigger opportunity to capture, but we have much bigger responsibilities on us. And I believe that being the first Arab tech company to list on Nasdaq is by itself an achievement, but also it has to do well. Otherwise, maybe
there's a lot of responsibility
others,
there, Eddie.
Exactly. As I mentioned, there's a lot of responsibility, and that was the feeling when we were, ringing the bell. We're very happy, we're very proud, but also we felt that we're on it. There's a big responsibility out there, right? But those markets would reward you if you do well. Those markets would really allow you also to grow, and there are a lot of options and a lot of tools, for you to raise capital to fuel your growth if you have a proper story and if you're executing properly. So I think that this puts you on a different platform, and you've got everything you want if you really want to focus and perform. You don't have probably a lot of excuses in this case. But again, there's a lot of responsibility, because if you don't do well, someone is gonna tell you that sorry and want to pull out. Now, in terms of Abu Dhabi, clearly for us, moving to Abu Dhabi and being headquartered in Abu Dhabi with the support of the Abu Dhabi Investment Office has been instrumental, because first of all, we believe that Abu Dhabi is a capital that has a lot of depth in terms of also wealth and capital, and it's a global city. And being headquarters in Abu Dhabi helped us really be up for the next phase we're trying to build and trying to reach. So also, not to mention the support we've been granted. So I think that all of these elements came all together right on time to that led us to where we are today.
You said a couple of words there which interest me. The next phase. Give me a helicopter view, if you can, of where Anghami is today, but equally, what will it look like in the next 10 years?
So Anghami today is still a music streaming platform, in my opinion, and we look at it as more of an entertainment platform, maybe in 10 years. As I mentioned, we already announced, and this is something that we're working on, and we announced initiatives around it. It's not just thoughts. We first launched a music label with Sony Music called Vibe Music Arabia. The purpose of this is to help developing talent and Arab local talent to really become artists. And this is something we don't have as a structure in Anghamis, but we still see the trends and see the data whereby we can identify artists that really have potential, but we didn't have the tool or the structure to work with them and develop them. So at least now there's a machine that is designed for this, and it's going to be developing artists and creating hits and songs that can be popular regionally, but also can travel the world. And also having Sony, which is the world's second largest label, on board would help us to use their scale, learn from their amazing experience, and have collaborations maybe with international artists that are part of Sony. So this is an exciting venture. And by the way, Sony Music has done this with one player in one digital platform in the world, which is Tencent Music in China, yes. And Anghami is the second one. So they always choose market leaders in certain in specific territories. We announced Anghami Lab, Anghami Lab is a venue whereby artists and has a studio whereby artists and producers can come together to the studio, produce content and music, and always it has to have an Arabic flavor. It can influence by international music, but it has to have Arabic flavor. And the music will be played in the venue to the audiences there, and will be streamed on Anghami. And this is also another initiative that will be hopefully that we announce and we start seeing the light very soon. It's done with Admine, which are leaders in the hospitality and F&B business. So we do our part and they do their part. We also announced the originals and exclusives. Have content you only find on Anghami, under Anghami originals, and we will be working a lot on creating covers, creating content that is popular and you only find on Anghami. And you'll see more and more exclusive content similar to the Amr Diab, be it premium and etc. So the experience will always be differentiated. Although we provide the millions of songs, more than 70 million songs that you find on any other streaming platform, but we'll always offer more with this particular genre, which is Arabic music and Arabic somehow, content that is Arabized with the Arabic flavor, because this is our specialty and this is, where we specialize, as I mentioned. And there are other initiatives that we'll be talking about very soon, like live concerts, live events. These are also among the initiatives that we'll be announcing soon, and that we're growing into as well. And on another front, we also developed a lot of features and app that allow us to be more than just a music streaming service. The social layer is pretty much developed compared to other platforms. Users can chat with each other, they can match other musically like-minded people. We enable users to go even through live radio, go play music collectively and have their friends interacting with them, and even have a radio show on their from their device directly to the people. So we're enabling this creator community to have more and more power and tools to create content and reach bigger audiences. Not to mention that we already provide creators and artists tools to upload their content and publish their content directly on Anghami without the need to go through maybe an aggregator or label or distributor, in a way for us to help them, reaching more and having wider, audiences across the platform.
So over the years, your team has grown in size and in locations. So, it's not just you and Ellie anymore. As you've grown, as Anghami has scaled, how have you maintained that original spirit, which is often a challenge for growing businesses?
I think this is part of our DNA as a company. And us as a team, we call ourselves Anghaminators. Anghaminators is a character that is, a hard worker, that is fun, but is also a fighter. He's hungry. He is always up to a bigger challenge. And I think this is, part of our culture, how we always like to challenge ourselves for something more, something bigger. And we never kind of say, no, we can't. We always like to push ourselves. And this, despite that, this puts maybe pressure or stress, but keeps us, excited and motivated to, keep going forward. So I think this is part of our culture and DNA, and I don't think it's gonna change anytime soon, despite growing the teams and being in various countries, etc. But this remains at the core of our culture, I would say.
Okay, so that's the team. How have you found your journey? Because obviously, often it's all cool when you're a founder and you're growing a business, but now you are, you're the CEO, and you're the manager, you're the man at the top. How have you found that journey from founder and building something exciting to being the person at the top of the tree running it? Because you might not be in every single piece of it like you would want to be.
Yeah. So first of all, I know it's never a one-man show work. It's always a great team, and I'm very fortunate to have Ellie as a co-founder, because we are both kind of running the business as one, and this is very important. Plus, the leadership team we have is very qualified, each in his field. They know much more than I do or Ellie does, each in his specialty. Being on a public company, there are a lot of prerequisites. There are a lot of responsibilities I mentioned, but I don't think that one should take himself very seriously at the end. You just do your job. You surround yourself with the right people, experts. You fill the gaps where you lack knowledge in certain areas, and you just focus on performing, and everything else goes right. Of course, there's a different layer in terms of unit of compliance, public requirements. It's a different ball game, clearly. But again, it's not a one-man show. It's a teamwork, and fortunately, we are a great team, all working together for one goal: is really making the best out of this venture and trying to grow and deliver.
I think I've got time for one more question, so I'm going to try and extract some value off you. Top three pieces of advice for any entrepreneurs starting on their journey today. You want to be as big as Anghami one day.
I have a personal opinion around entrepreneurship. I feel that it's sometimes a bit overrated. It's about overused. I like the word builders more because after all, you're an entrepreneur, but you're building something, and you need to be prepared for a lot of challenges, a lot of sacrifices. It's rewarding, but it's hard. And I don't think that one should really say, I want to be an entrepreneur or I want to build something. I believe that you should always be prepared and build experience and work in companies or with teams, and to, building some sort of experience and skill set. And whenever you see an opportunity, right, and you feel that you've got the right ingredients and you've got enough skills to execute on it and make it happen by, filling a need or fixing a problem, as any opportunity, then you jump on it. But, like being focused on, I want to be an entrepreneur and try looking what is the opportunity, I think this is wrong and misleading, and can, in many cases, especially for a young student, can be somehow harmful to their careers. They can be part of great companies, large or medium or small companies, and doing great without the need of being entrepreneurs or in a startup, etc. Again, I mean, there should be always a great problem we're fixing or an opportunity we're really grabbing to be, an entrepreneur or a builder. Shouldn't be a target by itself.
So I'm going to sneak one last question in because I always do that. I'm a bit like Columbo, the old detective. As a leader, what excites you most about the year ahead, and what's keeping you awake? That was two questions, actually, wasn't it?
What excites me the most is really translating ideas into projects and seeing them really seeing the light and being successful. Yeah. That drives me a lot. And also my team, the people around me, motivate me a lot. This is probably the thing that makes me the most proud of seeing people, growing and working and building a career. Also the impact we make across the ecosystem, because a lot of artists, a lot of musicians, even users, they rely on us. We're part of an ecosystem that we are somehow contributing to its growth. So this means a lot to me as well. Now, what keeps me awake at night is failure, because no matter how successful you can be, you can fail. If you make wrong decisions, if you take wrong turns, you might fail. And we've seen a lot of success stories that turn into failures. So yes, that would always keep you awake at night, and that would maybe keep you focused, on the things that matter, and maybe keep you on the ground, keep you somehow not get drunk, that yes, I made it, now I'm successful.
Humble, yeah.
Stay humble. Stop being humble, staying focused on the real thing, because we're in a world where if you do one or two mistakes, you're out. So there's no mercy in this. So yes, this keeps me awake at night. But again, we're very grateful and excited and happy for the future.
Eddy Maroun, great to talk to you, and thank you for joining us on AB Talks today. Genuine pleasure to meet you.
Thank you so much, Scott. Thanks for having me.